So welcome again to those who were already here this afternoon, but also to those that are just coming for this part of this VIP, let's say, this VIP session for tonight in this wonderful place. I think quite impressive and unknown, at least to me, even if I've been living for 20 years in Brussels. So tonight, I think the idea is that before the dinner, you will have the chance to see three different panels with distinguished participants, and there will be three themes, more or less 30 minutes each, that will be presented to you. The three themes that will be presented will be about Copernicus Marine and Ocean Governance, Copernicus Marine and the EU Global Leadership, and the third one, Copernicus Marine and the European Digital Twin Ocean, so-called as well, DTO. My name is Mauro Facchini. I'm the person in charge of Copernicus since some years, and I will have the pleasure to co-chair all this evening with Pierre Bahurel, Director General for Mercator Océan, that you should know quite well. So I propose that we start with the first one, as we're already starting a little bit late, and I will call to the stage the first three people. Every panel will be with three guests. So I invite to the stage Kestutis SADAUSKAS, who is Deputy Director General in the European Commission Director General Maritime Affairs and Fisheries, DG MARE. I call Catherine CHABAUD, member of the European Parliament, and then Carolina Sá, who is the Portuguese Space Agency and Portuguese Copernicus delegate. Welcome. Can I give you, maybe we start with an applause? So Pierre will introduce this first session. Please, Pierre.
So this is a short story about Copernicus and ocean governance. First, you have to realize that there is the international ocean governance, which is something very well set by the DG MARE and the Commission, and there is the ocean governance, the BBNG, the agreement about the different things, where we are called as Copernicus marine experts to deliver something, and we are. So this story is the following. I was invited by the United Nations in New York in a session talking about the need to support ocean observations, and as Copernicus Marine Interest Entity, I was asked to deliver a message on that. And it was the United Nations, the real ocean governance with the nations and with the European Union. As you know, the European Union has a seat there, so the members of the EU are following the diplomat from the EU. And I was explaining Copernicus Marine, the beauty of it, and how this is really useful for governing sustainable oceans. And so, okay, then the chair opened the floor for the questions. United States first, they asked something about the gender issue in Copernicus Marine, and then the other countries. And after a while, everyone was hoping a question from the EU, from DG MARE, and he asked the question about Copernicus, very good questions, and then the session stops. And he came to me, I mean, come on, you could have warned me that you were there, because I was not fully aware of Copernicus. I had to Google before to be able to ask a question. So it was some years ago, when we were not completely identified in the blue diplomacy as a key asset. We have demonstrated this afternoon that we are really an asset of the EU diplomacy, but at this time it was not exactly the case. So I'm curious to know from the European Commission, from the European Parliament, and from one of the member states how important Copernicus Marine could be, or how you could be, or what the role we could play in this ocean governance.
I will start with the first question, and the first question is to Kestutis. So you're coming from DG MARE, so you're making your policy maker for all seas and oceans. So how do you see the contribution of Copernicus to those policies, and in particular, how do you think Copernicus Marine can support the EU international ocean governance agenda? Microphone.
Okay. If not, I can.
Does this
Yeah,
work?
I can.
This one?
Okay. I've got the one that works. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Mauro and Pierre, for the introduction. And I hope that the amount of glasses that you see on the table is a well-deserved upcoming celebration and a good dinner, good tasting dinner for you after having had a good day. But I think you deserve not only that good time for the day, but all the work that you do and everything that you provide for the European policymakers when you digest what comes from the space, what comes with the help of Copernicus. Ocean governance is one of those areas and policies which does benefit, and probably benefit is the word that is understatement, from all the data that comes from the space and that is generated or sent to us by Copernicus, and then also reprocessed by you into products and services that everybody seems to be increasingly enjoying. Because one of the key pillars of the ocean governance is knowledge. Without knowing what happens out there, there will be no sound decisions. And this has been a truth, convenient truth for a long, long time, and even more so in the future. One good example I expect, and this coincided with one of the big aims that European Union has set itself last year when it produced the ocean governance strategy, the agenda for that, is how to finally bring some legal order into the high seas, where there's been basically wilderness reigning, lawlessness, and everybody doing whatever they want. And what is interesting is that the satellites were showing what was happening there, to the extent that we could understand this. Finally, we brought home a very, very important, I would say iconic international agreement of biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction. And agreements of this kind don't come very often. It just happened to coincide with another agreement of Kunming, Montreal, on the biodiversity. But those that happen at the global scale are really far, or let's say too far in between themselves. But this one is really going to benefit from what the Copernicus will bring. One example is about how to protect the marine spaces, huge, vast marine spaces, the knowledge of which we're still gathering. Without having a good satellite data, I would say that this agreement of biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, the BBNJ, as acronym goes, will not be viable, because we'll not be able to draw the right boundaries of the marine protected areas, or will not be able to know what happens there, especially monitor the enforcement and implementation of that. So that's just one thing that comes to my mind on Copernicus when it comes already to the future, hopefully the not so distant future, because we need this agreement in it. But as importantly, the data that has been collected up to now, the knowledge that we have gathered, the various vehicles of information processing that Copernicus has fed into already, has really allowed us to build on some very important policies, such as pollution prevention, environment, maritime safety, maritime security, shipping. Anything that happens in the sea really depends on this data. And the fact that now there is so much of this data being generated, we're talking here about a couple of dozen of terabytes, which, okay, probably today looks big, in the future it may not be that big, but as far as I understand, even that kind of raw data is not fully used to that. So the potential is absolutely enormous, but we just need to have the community like yourselves to be expanded, to be bigger, to be larger, to make all the benefits and to take all the advantage that Copernicus Marine presents to us. And I would say it's limitless. It's one of the most fantastic European services to the rest of the world, being extremely benign, very, I would say, open, and to the extent that sometimes we think why we're doing this. But I think we're doing it really for ourselves, we're doing it for a good reason, because we know that when we know something about it, we make the right decisions, and the decisions about the ocean cannot be based on mistakes anymore.
Thank you. The last sentence was excellent. Thank you, Kestutis. Catherine.
Only the last one.
No, no,
Only the last
no. Before it was okay. Catherine, thank you for being with us. I know that you have to rush to go to an event at the Grand Place organized by UNEP about plastic pollution. So thank you for being with us now. So you're operational, you're a sailor. You know when you're talking about operational data, you know what it means. But you have also an experience of being part of the French government in the past years, and now member of the European Parliament. So ocean governance for operational people, operational data, you know what it means. So please, what are your expectations? Look at this community, ready to deliver. What is your expectation?
If it's possible
Please.
take, no, if it's possible, yeah, because of my papers, it will be easier. Yeah, sorry. Good evening, everyone, and many thanks, Pierre, for the invitation, and many thanks to all the Copernicus marine team, crew, I should say. So I'm trying to be active in the Parliament in all ocean issues. And within the fisheries, the environment, and the development committee. I need to tell you that before I came in the Parliament, nobody was speaking about ocean issues in the development committee. It was not an issue. And I also held the position, as you said, Pierre, in the French government as a delegate for the sea and coastline. It was in 2016 and 2017. And in this capacity, I worked on the national strategy for sea and coastal areas, and of course on the maritime spatial planning that needs a lot of data collection. And for both, we relied on science, and science, of course, needs to in situ data, but also satellite data. And it must constantly feed models with increasingly precise data to improve them. Beyond this professional experience, I have always been passionate about marine spaces and maritime issues. As you said, Pierre, my commitment to environmental protection was born when I was young, because I practiced scuba diving, but also as a sailor. And my commitments began 30 years ago when I saw plastic pollution in the middle of the Atlantic. And at that time, nobody was speaking about this pollution that I was able to see in the middle of the Atlantic. I myself use meteorological and current data. And I've seen the incredible progress made in models since I started sailing, so about 40 years ago. In the European Parliament, I've been trying for 4 years now to raise the sea level in the legislative text and to raise awareness in the European institutions. And I'm deeply convinced that Europe will be reborn from the sea. So the legislative framework is obviously one of the most important levers, but I have been also rapporteur of several resolutions which are message from the Parliament, including one on marine protected areas in Antarctica, as well as on the implementation of European ocean governance. I'm indeed a member of the French presidential majority, but I don't explicitly represent France here. But my previous positions would, however, allow me to make the following points. Looking at the state of play today, our understanding and knowledge of our marine areas and the cumulative effects of the pressures they are subject to still have significant gaps. In fact, thanks to European scientific initiatives, we know how marine areas better, but we can and we have to go further, I think. I can only congratulate the incredible work of Copernicus Marine and an invaluable ally in this quest for data to feed knowledge and understanding, and a special thanks to Mercator Ocean. in its commitments. Filling these knowledge gaps is essential to better protect our seas and oceans from pollution, but also to manage and exploit the ocean's potential in a sustainable way. The new possibilities arising from a better understanding of our marine and aquatic systems could give a further boost to the development of a truly sustainable and environmental friendly blue economy. Copernicus Marine, therefore, fills a gap in knowledge and complements in situ observations on a massive scale. This contribution is essential not only for France, which have sovereignty over a maritime area of about 11 million square kilometers, but also for the entire European Union. If we add all the marine areas of our 27 countries, we are the first maritime space in the world. So, but we need first more precise, reliable, and transparent data, to answer your question, Pierre, on the health of our seas and ocean. And we need the notice to understand and to use all the data collections. We are not experts when we are policymakers. The science to policy has to be probably increased. Governments need data on the early signs of global warming, such as rising sea levels, warming of the seas, and acidification of the oceans, as the Copernicus Service on Climate Change pointed out on the ENVI committee today. European seas have never been so warm. Policymakers also need indicatives of plankton production, pollution levels and their diffusion by ocean currents, waste, diffuse pollution, sargassum, ship emissions, degassing slicks, etc. Second, assessing adaptation to climate change. Ecosystems resilience must be systematically taken into account when public policy is implemented. We need to be able to assess the impact on fisheries and aquaculture, or to quantify blue carbon ecosystems, something that has not yet been done enough, and which I am pushing forward in the European Parliament. We need to put the blue carbon in the climate negotiations for the COP28. So we need data to map the blue carbon and to understand what the blue carbon brings to humanity. Third, we also need to address the problem of pollution that flows from land to sea. This subject was addressed at last week's conference of the Starfish mission the mission for restoration. I think Elisabetta is there, so she will speak about the Starfish mission and what has been said in Palermo. Fourth, data collection should enable us at European level to better manage legislation on the basis on this knowledge. I'm thinking in particular of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, which reiterates the need to adopt an holistic ecosystem-based approach to prevent and reduce harmful inputs into the marine environment. France, more specifically, is present in every oceanic region in the world, thanks to its overseas territories, and the control and monitoring of its 11 million square kilometers of maritime space represents not only an environmental challenge, but also an economic and strategic one. Copernicus Marine is therefore an essential tool for France and its outermost regions, and must continue its work on these regions, which are particularly sensitive to climate change. I'm thinking in particular to the impressive sargassum mapping carried out by Copernicus Marine in the Caribbean Sea. This sargassum, which has a direct impact on French overseas departments such as Martinique and Guadeloupe, shows the need for tools such as Copernicus to predict the effects of global warming and better counter them. Last November, I sailed once again across the Atlantic, and you can't imagine you can see sargassum everywhere. It's a huge problem, and I think we still have a lot to understand where does those sargassum come from. Looking to the future, France is organizing the next United Nations Conference on the Oceans to be held in Nice in June 2025. Knowledge is always at the heart of major international conference in the sea, ocean conference all over the world, and I'm convinced that Copernicus Marine can play a crucial role between now and 2025. It would also be appropriate for Mercator Ocean International's digital ocean twin to be completed by then. Also, the IPOS project, the International Panel for Ocean Sustainability, supported by the Commission, the European Parliament, and the Council, and of course by France. In conclusion, sorry to be long, I'm convinced that we need to accelerate actions, awareness, knowledge, and the projects that are being developed. As this event reminds us, the good health of our marine and coastal ecosystems depends on better knowledge of the ocean and our maritime spaces, thanks to key players such as Copernicus Marine. It is with this knowledge that we can act both regionally and internationally to better manage the ocean, which knows no borders and is our common good, our global common. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Catherine. And so after we heard the Commission, the European Parliament, I think now we give the floor to a representative from a member state, Carolina Sá, from the Portuguese Space Agency. And I know Carolina since a while because she's also the Copernicus Portuguese delegate, so we cross each other quite frequently. So clearly you're representing your country. What do you think are your expectations in that regard? So what is your country expecting from Copernicus, and how could we improve what we are doing?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is it working? Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here in this panel to provide the view of a small country, but very big with these waters, no? So the ocean is a challenge to us, and we really need satellites to monitor it. The ocean is a priority in all agendas, national agendas, so in the research agenda, in the economic agenda, in the space agenda. So the Atlantic is in the centerpiece, in the center keyword in the space agenda, and we really think it's a way to monitor and to help us to preserve it and sustain it. I was looking at this international governance agenda, and there were 4 main objectives that I just think that Copernicus can contribute to it, and that we are also using it. So strengthening the ocean governance framework. I think this is why we have an open data policy in Copernicus. I think Copernicus is a diplomacy tool also. It promotes research, it promotes business, but it's also a diplomacy. We saw today Laurence showing users all over the world, in Asia, in Africa, in South America. I think this is really useful. In Portugal, we created the Air Center a bit also to promote this activity that the ocean has different borders, each side of the ocean, so we're cooperating with all partners along the Atlantic. Then there's the ocean sustainability by 2030, with all the challenge, climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, and we are a bit behind in setting our marine protected areas, but we are using Copernicus for that, and the government of the Azores have decided to try to reach the 30% goal before 2030. And what they are looking in Copernicus is not just helping them to define which areas are priority now, but what will be in the face of climate change. So which areas will be vulnerable, thinking of the predictions of climate change. So what we need to protect now, but also in a 30 years time. So, and consider that when designing the marine protected areas. So that is a very practical example. For the blue economy and being more carbon neutral applications in aquaculture, for evaluating the impact of aquaculture in the environment, fisheries, looking at illegal fisheries, when to fish, ship routing, and clean energy. So site selection, how to best profit from wave, energy of the wave and the wind offshore. Then we have the ensuring security and safety in all these areas. So I think not only CMEMS, but also the security service is essential here for the detection of illegal fishing, illegal activities. Also, I did mention the pollution, but of course also within the security we have the monitoring of oil spills, of pollution. And then the final one, which is very important and everyone mentioned today, is expanding ocean knowledge. And I think this is crucial. In Portugal, we have this Fundação Oceano Azul, which have developed a module of nine modules, a course that is given to 500 schools, high school students and basic schools. And I think Copernicus could have also a very important role in ocean literacy in these matters, because a lot of things that we know about the ocean, we've learned it from space. And I conclude my intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolina, and good to talk about education and the transmission. So warm thanks for the time you took for us. And before to leave, is there any specific message you want to deliver? Imagine that we will work 1 week. Just put one keyword in the brain of this community. Just, is there any takeaway message that you want to deliver? No obligation, it was not prepared. So is there anything you think we should really think about for the coming week or next 2 years?
Emotion. Emotion, because when you arrived in just before this beautiful room, you have a lot of beautiful pictures. And I think I was reading this yesterday an article about those spationautes, the guys and the women who are going in the, who are able to see the Earth from the sky. And I think even if data collection is supposed to be something without emotion, what you show with the maps, etc. Okay, produce emotion. I think
translation improve the viewer. You know, three-dimensional.
So
okay.
Put emotion, because it helps to share information, etc.
Thank you.
And to raise awareness.
Kestutis, Carolina.
Yes, I have very short 3 messages. One of them is, I know that there is a lot of attention put on the climate, and I think this is where our satellite images and all our installations, all our infrastructure has really helped to track down everything. Yet when we look back into the scheme of and the matrix of the SDGs, we know that there is a lot more than just that, and everything is connected. And the one where we have trespassed very badly the planetary boundaries was on biodiversity. It is for that reason that we need to pay a lot of attention to how we protect and restore marine ecosystems, especially the marine living species. And it's absolutely fantastic that Copernicus can trace back, for instance, some cetaceans or sea mammals, or even zooplankton, just to see what happens, or even sargasso. Okay, it may not be at the protected species. Maybe this is a species we want to get rid of, at least to some extent. But at least to be aware that the whole ecosystems approach, the holistic approach, is absolutely essential here, and climate is one important part of it, but we need to neglect, not neglect the others. The second one, very quickly, is we know and we see every day what happens with the revolutions and new tools that come in with the generative artificial intelligence. And since we're dealing here with heaps and heaps and heaps of data, we know that the next thing that will be happening is these tools probably using this data. So we need to be upfront and thinking how we can master that, not to stifle it, not to strangle it, but to really make the best use of it. And the last message is that from what I've seen, in our policies, is that we'll need a lot more of the better use of the products and the services that you are providing using the Copernicus Marine. So one thing is very clear, is that your future is bright, but your days will be very, very busy.
I was just going for a word. I would say action, because sometimes we tend to be marveled, and scientists do that with the knowledge, but then we need to translate it into action and look at our own actions actually also. So
if I may. Just remember that the emotional gap is one of the fifth harms from the Starfish mission. The emotional gap.
So thank you very much. I think that it was very, very interesting. So thank you very much for the panelists. And now we move to the second panel. This panel will be about Copernicus Marine and EU global leadership. And the panelist will be Tomasz HUSAK, advisor for digital agenda and data technologies, working for the European Commission Directorate General for International Partnership, DG INTPA. Elisabetta BALZI, head of unit Healthy Seas and Oceans, also the European Commission Directorate General for Research and Innovation, DG RTD. And then Niccolo, BASSAN, Science Officer at UNESCO Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. Please, come on to the stage. So a round of applause for the new guests.
We are talking about EU global leadership. I just want to start by saying that I'm very proud to be European. I'm proud to be European when I see in the international negotiation the voice of the EU, the united front of EU member states fighting for the protection of the high seas, for instance, or talking to the other countries about the plastic pollution, etc. I'm very proud to be European, and when I was young, it was better to be American. And now I see that some continents are coming to us to see how we are working as Europeans, how we are working in Copernicus Marine, how we are organized, how we can work with so many countries and be so operational how we are and deliver. So I'm very proud to that. I just want to give you one example using the UN Ocean Conference cycle. You know, the first one was in 2017 in New York, and we tried to enter into this UN Ocean Conference because we were delivering Copernicus Marine, and we managed finally, and we had a side event, and we were pushing the people in the room. It was difficult to, because we were in competition with a special session for Pacific Islands, so the people were going to Pacific and we were pushing. It was in 2017 in New York. The second one was in Lisbon. You remember this one? Thank you, Carolina. It was in Lisbon, and it was a bit different here because Copernicus was here and there in different sessions. We had plenty of occasions to explain what the Europeans were doing. And we were also with Niccolo, that was at this time a UNEP, and he was explaining how Copernicus was interesting for him. And so it was a different style, but we were still in the middle. And then we have this UN Ocean Conference that will be again in Europe in 25 in Nice, where we must be ready ourselves to contribute and explain to the others what we can do and learn from the others and be at the level of what is expected from the EU global leadership. So I just want to thank again our co-panelists, and I'm eager to hear from you about what we could do as Copernicus to contribute to this EU global leadership.
Okay, so we start with the questions. So the first question is for Tomasz. So you're coming from DG INTPA, so the DG in charge for international partnership. How do you think Copernicus program fits into the EU international strategies? And do you think that Copernicus can be used as a tool that can reinforce our influence into these international partnerships?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mauro. Thank you very much, Pierre. And I would like to thank as well the whole Copernicus Marine community here for this possibility to first know you and have a better understanding as well of this area, and as well to give you the perspective of global positioning of the EU in the area of space Earth observation, because everything starts at home. And if we look at this commission, which started in December 2019, there were 6 big priorities, and 2 most important of them, which are shaping the whole industrial agenda of the EU, are Green Deal and the digital agenda. And this twin transition that started at home as an industrial policy had to be projected outside Europe. And this was as well very strongly influenced by the events of the pandemics, COVID-19, health issues, vaccine story. And as a direct consequence of that, President von der Leyen announced a big strategy on connectivity. The key word was connectivity, the global gateway. But this connectivity is not only about physical cables. This connectivity is, of course, about digital infrastructure, but it is about as well research. This is about energy, climate, education, health. And this global gateway, which is meant as a strategy, very often misused and misinterpreted as an element of competition with China, with the US, other geopolitical partners. No, this is global gateway is on one side a strategy how we can push forward the twin transition outside Europe to give an impetus as well for European industry to give an effect of that. And secondly, this is an offer. This is an offer for our partners globally on how to escape from the traditional donor-recipient policy to a partnership. And I think this is the key word to understand the word partnership. How to make sure that whatever will be developed will be developed with local ownership, and how we can cooperate with our partners as well, taking into account the EU interest. And now I can say, where does Copernicus fit in this strategy? Copernicus, frankly speaking, from the beginning, was a program already taking into account all those elements. If you look at the DIAS, the Data Information Access System, if you look at the Copernicus Masters, if you look at Copernicus Incubators, if you look at Copernicus Hackathons, already some years ago, we are looking forward how to make sure that Copernicus will bring leverage of investments. This is as well what Global Gateway says. 300 billion of money that will have to be leveraged through a team, the Team Europe, with European Investment Bank, with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Copernicus as well is a program that offers the capacity to not only bring important Earth observation data for the twin transition. Copernicus as well is enabling other investments in different parts of the world, like cables, like digital infrastructures, like centers of excellence, all this connected brings the private sector, the public sector, the academia, research centers together. And this is the main point of Copernicus there. Now, during the last 2 years, we managed to achieve a global presence. First, if you look at Latin America, we have signed 2 contribution agreements with Chile, with Panama. We are building 2 centers of excellence there, connected with the Bella cable, which means that the terabytes of data will come from Copernicus, will come through this cable, and that our partners in Latin America will have the capacity to use this data, and the EU as well will have the capacity to use the data coming from this region. The same goes to Asia, where we signed as well the contribution agreement in December in January with the Philippines, and we'll build a mirror site there. There is as well a Team Europe initiative on the ASEAN connectivity package. Another perspective that will possibly bring us to a more developed ASEAN region connected hub with Copernicus. We are developing a 100 million program with Africa, which is based on 3 main pillars. The first one on building the institutional capacity with Africa on all different elements of space, Copernicus, but as well Galileo, nanosatellites. The second pillar is related exactly to the environment protection, to deforestation, to the blue economy, to spatial planning. And finally, the third pillar is linked to the capacity of the private sector to evolve. Finally, if we look at different regions, we have Central Asia. Just now in May, there was in Astana a huge conference where all the different countries from the region expressed a huge wish to cooperate on satellite navigation, satellite communication, and Earth observation data. So Copernicus, if we look from this geopolitical perspective, is a tool of excellence. It's confirming that Europe is the second space power in the world, and that this is an element where everybody would like to cooperate, because we know very well that the data coming from Copernicus is of great precision and great scientific excellence. And this is where the Copernicus Marine Environment Monitoring System comes. Because if it was already quoted several times here, if you look at Panama, Panama wants to develop exactly projects related to the protection of the environment, to deforestation, but as well to the blue economy, not only vessels, but as well fishing, fishing development and preservation of marine species, but as well the most important element today for the whole region, which is the sargassum blooming. So that's the biggest potential now to be developed. And if you look as well for the global UN agenda, we can as well say that one of the main drivers, one of the main indicators for the 14th Sustainable Development Goal can be brought only by the Copernicus services. Copernicus services as well have an extremely important impact for the creation of conventions on biodiversity, on the creation of different protected biodiversity zones. So everywhere, if we look globally at the UN level, in cooperation with our partners, we can see that Copernicus is an element of crucial research scientific data, which is a single entry point, but that can bring as well not only an element for scientists, but a capacity for big communities to develop as well new applications, new business models around it. And this is a matter of influence. This is what Global Gateway at the end means. This is why Copernicus is a central element of it. So to reply to the question, yes, whether Copernicus is or not an element of global EU influence, I think personally that this is one of the best examples that the EU is coming with a product, with a brand, with a strategic tool, which not only can serve the human mankind and the protection of biodiversity ecosystems globally, but this is as well an element where the EU can express its interest around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomasz. Elisabetta BALZI, you are the head of one of the units with the most beautiful names in the European Commission, and with a scope of activities which is huge. But I would like you to elaborate a bit about the science diplomacy which is behind this, because we are all scientists or close to scientists. We are delivering operational services, but the science is our earth, and we know that with you and the GRTD there are fields of activities where we can contribute to this EU global leadership on science. Maybe you could enlighten a bit this idea.
Merci beaucoup, Pierre. Is it functioning? Yes. Good evening to everybody. It's really a great pleasure and privilege for me to be this evening with you and the community of a marine, Copernicus Marine Service. And actually, indeed, Catherine CHABAUD referred to the fact that we are just back, indeed, from a mission in this time in the Mediterranean, in the sea basin. We are addressing all the sea basins, and now we were in the Mediterranean for our mission to restore our ocean and waters, where your function is key. And I think Kestutis already spoke about the mission, but you know that we have one enabler which is key for our mission, which is the establishment of a digital system of knowledge of oceans and inland waters, and of course your role is key in order to implement and accomplish this mission. And maybe I would like to start, I will address your question, Pierre, but I would like to start by mentioning, quoting our director, John Bell, who could not be here with you tonight, but actually asked me to greet you. And he mentions that actually our European Union is an ocean union, and we need really a quickly strengthen ocean knowledge, and your community is key to develop this ocean knowledge. So we are very grateful and for all the work you're doing, and we really need you on board to accomplish this very ambitious mission. Now, to come to your question on the science diplomacy is really central for our activities, for the activities of European Union, for the activities of DG Research and Innovation at the Commission. And just as an example, we adopted a communication on the global approach to research and innovation a couple of years ago, and this is a key strategy for us. So the aim is that the EU should take a leading role in supporting international research and innovation, and of course all the marine research and innovation is international by definition. We are supporting a very large portfolio of projects in marine research innovation. Only in the last couple of years in Horizon Europe we invested more than 400 million euros in this type of research. And you know better than I how important is this, of course, for the ocean. The ocean can only be addressed internationally, all the issues, and the international partnership is key to research and innovation in the ocean. And this is why we are engaged in several international initiatives. Just to mention some, the All Atlantic Ocean Research and Innovation Alliance is one. Then we have also a strong alliance with the Union for the Mediterranean. We are contributing importantly to the UN Decade of Ocean Science, Geo Blue Planet, and the G7 Working Group of the Future of Seas and Ocean. This is just to mention some activities of science diplomacy that we are supporting throughout our activities. Then I already mentioned the mission, our mission to restore our ocean and waters. By 2030, very ambitious objectives, so to restore and protect, to reduce pollution, and to contribute to the circularity and carbon neutrality of our sustainable blue economy. Here, of course, the importance of developing a digital twin of the ocean. By 2024, we have to deliver, as our President Ursula von der Leyen announced. So we have a very ambitious goal ahead of us, and your role in this is key, of course. We have also the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership, which is an investment in research and innovation shared between the Commission and the Member States. The Member States are investing 70% of funds over national funds, and the European Union comes with 30%, and we are investing in with more than nearly €500 million in the next years. And the digital twin of the ocean is also a very important part in the shared agenda. So we are developing local digital twins of the ocean through this partnership. So this is just to give some examples. Now, a Copernicus system is indeed, we can define it as a backbone of a global Earth observation system. So it is very important because you do not only provide a world-class space technology, but you also develop user-tailored downstream services, and which are open and freely available, so like your marine service. So this is a key element which is also very important for our activities. And as a global and recognized, world-recognized leader, your Copernicus Marine serves the EU science diplomats in different ways. First of all, it helps us building strong links with international scientific communities and to disseminate knowledge developed in Europe, which is useful, of course, in the worldwide context, and knowledge which is also coming importantly from our Research Innovation EU program. It was also important that this research community in Europe has built tools and services around Copernicus products, and these support objectives and new policies like, for example, the European Green Deal, where the blue arms of a Green Deal is key. So we always say we cannot have a Green Deal without blue. Then, of course, Copernicus also allows that the operational exploitation of EU research outcomes and the transfer of technology and knowledge, particularly also to developing countries in EU capacity building initiatives. And then Copernicus-based services also have been developed also to support international partnership for food security, disaster risk reduction, and sustainable development in cooperation with the GMES and Africa program and the Group on Earth Observation. And these examples show how the Copernicus program feeds into the EU strategy to support international partnership through free and open sharing of Earth observation data and related services in the frame of GEO. So to conclude in a few words, I don't want to keep you too long from the dinner, but Copernicus Marine is essential to positioning the EU as a key ocean global actor. So many thanks and congratulations for the work that you're doing.
So thank you very much, Elisabetta. And so we spoke about international, we spoke about science, and I would like to ask to Niccolo in some way how he sees the influence that Copernicus Marine can have in UN activities in general, and maybe in particular to the UN Decade for Ocean Science that was also mentioned by Elisabetta during her presentation. Niccolo.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mauro, Pierre, and all the community here of Copernicus for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm sure that this can provide an opportunity to engage actually between all different institutions and agencies that we've seen here tonight. Today was very interesting. I'm not from the Copernicus world, so having a view of what Copernicus does, it was very, very stimulating and interesting. First of all, on behalf, of course, of the Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO and all the colleagues within the UN Ocean Decade Coordination Unit, it is my pleasure to be here, and so thank you very much again, and participate in this high-level event. First of all, of course, Copernicus Marine, Mercator Ocean, and all the contractor parties contribute significantly to the UN Ocean Decade, simply, if we can say simply, by leveraging its enormous amount of Earth observation data and information, which is useful for informing sustainable ocean management and sustainable ocean development in general. Simply by unlocking the data and knowledge potential and the sharing ocean data, giving it free to use, actually, Copernicus Marine contributes to many of the Ocean Decade challenges, of course, but significantly to two of the underpinning challenges, which are, of course, Challenge 7, which focuses on expanding and sustaining the ocean observing system. And Challenge 8, which aims to create a digital representation of the global ocean. By ensuring these activities, Copernicus, of course, contributes to enhance data availability worldwide, providing timely information for extreme events, and supporting stakeholders in diverse sectors, in different applications, and in multiple applications, I would say. In the specific, within our team and what we're currently working on right now, Copernicus Marine, through Mercator Ocean, is actively engaging within the UN Ocean Decade coordination offices, so the DCOs, the Decade Collaborative Centers, and specifically with the DCO for ocean data sharing, with a DCO for ocean observing, and of course, as Enrique was showing before, the ocean prediction DCC. So focusing on this need to share the ocean data and the knowledge that Copernicus has in its hands, and promote standardized observation practices and strengthen regional efforts actually around capacity development. Copernicus is also supporting the implementation of the ocean data, Ocean Decade data and information strategy, which is a recently released strategy from IOC UNESCO that will act as the main framework and backbone for data streamlining and for the implementation of the global digital twin of the ocean. So if you have not seen it yet, go on the UNESCO IOC website and download the Ocean Decade data information strategy, please. But of course, we look forward also in continuing this collaboration with the Copernicus and its contractor parties, especially for what concerns the recently launched UN Ocean Decade Vision 2030 process, which is a dynamic and participatory approach that the Ocean Decade Coordination Unit has recently launched, which aims to set a strategic ambition for each of the Ocean Decade challenges. And this process, of course, will allow to put a mark and assess and analyze what we've done in the last 3 years and what needs to be done in the next 7 years. So it's a good also occasion to we say to give the sums of what we had done till now and what needs to be done in the next period. This process will be fundamentally aiming to the next UN Ocean Decade Conference, which will be in Barcelona in April from the 10th to the 12th of April. And we, of course, invite everyone to participate and to save the date for that week, because actually that will be a full week in Barcelona dedicated to the ocean. In the next 3 days, I think, in 3 days, the call for side events will open. So you're all invited to submit side events for the conference. And this will be also the occasion to bring to the table the 10 white papers on the strategic ambition that will be done during this year, a little bit less than a year, unfortunately, that will give the strategic ambition for each challenge and the enabling, we'll try to understand what is the enabling environment to achieve those challenges. So this is what Copernicus Marine contributes to the Ocean Decade in particular. What could be done even more, I would say, would be to work, of course, Copernicus focuses on the European scale, and it's right and normal, but has also data and information which is a global scale. What needs to be done would be to have more information at hand at that global scale, at higher resolution, and more updated in terms also of small island development states and least developed countries. So data findability and accessibility for those regions. Capacity development is another big aspect in which Copernicus Marine, Mercator could contribute to the ocean decade. Collaboration and partnerships, which are already contributing, but we cannot stress it more. We need to, of course, gather as much as possible and contribute to a common goal as much as possible. Innovation and research, we've seen the digital twins and all the wonderful activities that all the community is doing, so even more. And of course, as I think Carolina was mentioning today, the user needs, so the user engagement and understanding the user needs, and so focusing on what are the priority needs in terms of users and data available and necessary would be the main important points. Thank you very much. Sorry for being so long, but congratulations for all your work, and a pleasure again to be here. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So I would say after action, emotion, biodiversity, I would say partnership, excellence, and UN decade. Is there one word that you want to add to this? Being very short because we see the pressure of the dinner coming now. So is there anything you want to add? Just one short message to conclude.
Three quick messages. Copernicus is a globally recognized brand, is a key enabler for Green Deal and the digital agenda. And finally, your work is crucial to bring the right scientific knowledge to make the best possible decisions for the future in terms of preserving our ecosystems and our planet. Thank you.
I would say an inclusive knowledge system at the service of a citizen, and an integrated knowledge system in all directions, not only observation. We need to go vertical, we need to go horizontal, interconnected. So it's a big challenge ahead, but we have to work all together, and we will make it.
And maybe from Europe to global, and from global to community, I would say. So engaging again the users in this to understand their evolving needs and requirements, but also by seeking feedback in this continuous loop, never-ending loop, unfortunately, and remain relevant over time and valuable also for the global community, I would say.
Thank you very much for the panelists, and now we move to the last panel, and the last panel is about Copernicus Marine and EU Digital Twin Ocean, and the panelists are TSITLAKIDIS, Babis. I made an effort because I was expecting your boss, so yeah. Hi. And then Zoi KONSTANTINOU and Nicolas SEGEBARTH. So Babis is from the European Commission, DG CNECT. Zoi is from European Commission, DG MARE, and Nicolas is from European Commission, DG RTD, and they will give the different facets about this digital twin ocean. Pierre.
Now comes the surprise, the digital twin. I don't know if you remember when, where you were when you learned that John Lennon was a murderer, or that Barack Obama was elected as a president. But I remember exactly when, for the first time, I hear the digital twin of the ocean. I remember, and I say, what do you mean? And at this moment, the world was split in two. Team A, okay, digital twin, this is for the technician. I'm a scientist, I'm a modeler, I don't care about this. Team B, hey, this is exactly what I'm doing. Don't do anything, I'm taking care of digital twin. And the next step was to, there was a discussion to understand where to go with these digital twins of different things in different things. And And the ocean, we were told that we were not ready for this. We were not mature enough. And it was a super signal. At this moment, all the community, from DG RTD, DG MARE, DG DEFIS, DG CONNECT, all the things, we team together, say, okay, you will see what it means. You want to provoke us and to understand what it is, a digital twin ocean, so we will gather Copernicus Marine, EMONNet, research infrastructures, good science, good technology, artificial intelligence, the users. We have thousands of users, and we will deliver this digital twin. And now we have set up these things to explain what is a digital twin. You can see how we are now very well equipped to explain what is a digital twin, but I'm curious to hear from Nicolas, Babis, and Zoi about the reality of the challenges of this digital twin ocean.
So I start with the first question. So to Babis. So can you remind us what is the Destination Earth initiative, and what do you think can be the link with the DTO, so the digital twin ocean?
Thank you, Mauro. Thank you, Pierre. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. It's both a great pleasure and an honor to be with you today, and it's an opportunity for me also to speak about what we are doing in the digital arm of the Commission, in DG CONNECT, with a focus, of course, on Destination Earth and the digital twin of the ocean, together with my colleagues from the other services. So, Destination Earth refresher, if you like. I would prefer to start with what perhaps Destination Earth is not about. So we are not planning to build a 3D digital representation of the Earth. It's not about a new Google Earth. Destination Earth is an ambitious initiative of the European Union in order to build a highly accurate digital model of the Earth, which will help us in monitor and the effects of human but also natural activities on planet. It will give us the opportunity to adapt our policies regarding the climate change challenges, but it will help us also to anticipate extreme events. So all of these in parts of Destination Earth are based on advanced, grounded, scientific knowledge that we gain through all these years, of course, also through what you've been doing all this time in the Copernicus Marine Service. So with Destination Earth, we are trying to unlock the potential of digital modeling when it comes to Earth systems, like land, atmosphere, biosphere, and of course marine. So we are trying to proceed there to go beyond what exists today. So based on a level of unprecedented realism in terms of also breakthroughs for, let's say, user interactivity, so to advance more when it comes to the speed and accuracy for data and service provision, and tailor the services and applications of Destination Earth to the level of expertise by all of our user groups. So Destination Earth will be both about non-expert users, about expert users, and all users or user categories that fall in between. In Destination Earth, of course, we are working with the 3 entrusted entities that you know already from Copernicus, so with ESA, ECMWF, and EUMETSAT. And there we are starting by deploying the first 2 big digital twins of the Earth systems. One related to climate change adaptation, and the other one related to the management of extreme events. So there, the users of Destination Earth will have the ability to not only use these big 2 twins, but also to be able to leverage on a vast amount of data resources that we are going to make available, new areas to be explored, like advanced AI modeling, and a number of tools related to that. But also, we will provide resources like high-performance computing and a number of sophisticated simulation and visualization tools. So it's, from one hand, you have the twins, the big twins, the heavy machinery of Destination Earth, but then you have a number of services and applications and tools that will become available to the users. And we are expecting also the users to come with their own data, integrate them with the resources of Destination Earth, and build new services and new applications for the realization of the Green Deal objectives. So we are now in the middle of phase 1 of Destination Earth. The plan is that we will go live mid-June next year. And of course, Destination Earth is not an initiative that will fulfill its purpose in 2 or 3 years' time. The horizon for implementation spans between 7 to 10 years. So we will have subsequent phases where we will expand to more use cases, new areas, our connection with the digital twin of the ocean. And gradually we will build what we will call the digital twin of the whole Earth, which is going to be a kind of a set of thematic digital twins plus all the services that I referred to. Now, when it comes to the connection with the digital twin of the ocean, I will start by saying what has been said many times today, that the digital twin of the ocean is a major priority of the Commission and the Union, and there we see it also as a major priority for Destination Earth. So we already started working towards this direction on how we could build the synergies with the digital twin of the ocean. Are implementing entities from both sides, so from the projects already preparing the public infrastructure of the digital twin of the ocean, but also the entrusted entities of Destination Earth are working together with us, with all the involved services in the Commission, in order to identify how we can proceed by building these interoperability mechanisms between the two initiatives, so how we can build the bridges. And of course, there are already provisions in the projects that are running in the area of the digital twin ocean, but also in the Digital Europe program in order to facilitate this process. We already had the first meeting, so we are already en route. We are proceeding with that. And again, the main goal is to ensure the proper alignment between the two sides so that we can avoid redundancies, and we can avoid the double effort, but also to maintain coherence. And what is important is that we have the user stories, the user needs depicted there. So imagine yourself as a user of an ecosystem spanning between Destination Earth, the digital twin of the ocean, other twins that may arise in the future. So what I think it's the most important thing is to make sure that the user needs will be covered through our collaboration among all involved parties. And we will have, of course, the opportunity to discuss more on the interoperability between the digital twin of the ocean and Destination Earth, I think also next week in the Digital Ocean Forum. But we are already on track, and we believe that we cannot have the full, let's say, digital twin of the Earth without the major component of the oceans, because the oceans, as you know better than me, are crucial when it comes to the interaction of the oceans with atmospheric processes that define our weather and climate. So rest assured that we are doing a great job there, and that we will manage very soon to have the first outcomes regarding this fruitful collaboration. Thank you.
Zoi, the mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030 has been one of the first to recognize the importance of going cross-cutting and the importance of this tool that is this digital twin ocean. So we are, of course, contributing to this with Copernicus Marine, but could you explain a bit more about this mission and the role of Copernicus in this?
Thank you, Pierre. The mission, as it has been already mentioned by both Kestutis and Elisabetta, is a new way to work towards achieving our goals regarding the marine environment. The idea behind the mission is to take the high-level European marine research and bring it closer to society. To do this, besides the specific objectives from the mission that we have already spoken about, it is important to be able to access marine knowledge in new ways, easier, more usable, with more possibilities for the development of applications that are actually useful for society, for policy making, for business development in the blue economy. And it's also very important to keep in mind that we need strong science policy interface. The European Digital Twin of the Ocean is going to be in the center of the mission in order to achieve the objectives, because it is the umbrella action that will provide access to this extremely useful and vast marine knowledge that we have collected in Europe during the last 20 years, even more. We know that European research is very advanced. We know that our marine knowledge services, as Copernicus Marine, as the European Marine Observation and Data Network, as our research infrastructures, are state-of-the-art and are leading developments. The European Digital Twin of the Ocean will bring all this together and will support the mission in order to have cleaner oceans, to succeed in our goals regarding biodiversity, marine biodiversity that is suffering, and to develop sustainable blue economy. If we are smart, and I think that we are going to combine this with a very strong engagement coming from society. So one of the aims of the mission is to combine these digital developments with integration of science into society and to policy in a manner that our stakeholders are going to feel that are involved in the process and they have a way in the process. So the Digital Twin Ocean is going to be in the core of the mission in order to actually demonstrate that we have developed a different way to work and that research is not a separate part, but is part of society and can provide extreme and useful added value.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Zoi. So we spoke about the EU mission Restore Our Oceans and Seas. I think it's something that you share mostly with DG RTD, so you're really running for that. So maybe Nicolas, maybe if you can also mention a little bit what could be the role of Copernicus in this mission, and at the same time on how this could influence the co-design of the Digital Twin Ocean.
Thank you, Mauro, and good evening to everybody. I promise I will be brief. In French, we have an expression which says "ventre affamé n'a pas d'oreille," which in English directly translates into "hungry tummies have no ears." So if I don't go to the point, you'll all go deaf, and I don't wish that for you. So maybe just to start paraphrasing Zoi, the ultimate goal of the Digital Twin of the Ocean is indeed to transform all that knowledge and all these assets that we have been developing for a few decades now in Europe into information which is actionable for all ocean actors. And Carolina Sa mentioned the word action, and that is extremely important because we need to make sure that all that knowledge reaches the ocean actors, and by ocean actors I really mean all those people who are either operating at sea, the businesses, either living on the shores, living from the sea, local government who will have to face quite some changes into the way they will have to deal with the sea and the coastal zones. So we need to make sure that all that knowledge is transformed in an actionable manner. And that is the ultimate goal of the Digital Twin of the Ocean. So of course, beyond the concept, which seems a bit abstract and very much sci-fi, there is quite a big ambition. And the ambition is not to design a single system that will answer every single question. What we want to be able to do with the EU Digital Twin of the Ocean under the mission is to develop an infrastructure which is conceived as a public good, which will serve all these ideas of application of services that will need to come up and be developed to serve the fisheries communities, to serve aquaculture, to serve developers. Because they need to be able to take decisions which not only are sustainable, but which also last over time. And we need to be able to make these so-called what-if scenarios and make sure that the solution that we are considering, that we're envisaging, will resist time. So if you're trying to find an aquaculture site, you will need to be sure that, or as sure as possible, that in 20 years from now, which is the duration of your investment, your aquaculture farm will not be destroyed by heat wave, or will not be affected by strong pollution because the current changes suddenly and all the mess that comes from a river will come on your zone and not where it used to go. So we need to be able to develop these what-if scenarios, and that is exactly what we want to do. So as I said, it's quite ambitious, and I'm not hiding that when I think about the ambitions, I have cold sweat sometimes at night. But if we want to do that, then we need to be very pragmatic and develop the thing step by steps. And of course, the first steps that we came up with is to start building the DTO with the assets, with the great assets that we have. And these two of the main great assets are, of course, the Copernicus Marine Service and EMODNet, which is the network of all the in-situ observation data centers and initiatives, and of course, all the marine research infrastructure. So there is the role of Copernicus here, is that it is the starting material to develop the digital twin of the ocean, but it's not going to be the only one. And that is very important. You'd ask about what is the co-design and the expert needs. Because the development of the digital twin of the ocean is going to be a long process. We should not hide from that. We will have something demonstrable, a prototype by the end of 24, hopefully, but it is a very long process. And we will need to make sure that all the actors that I mentioned contribute to the requirements of the development of the digital twin. Because if we don't take that as the first and foremost consideration, we will just miss our target, which is to serve them. So the Copernicus Marine Service will help us, exactly as you do with your users community, to refine, to develop, to adapt the developments to the actual needs. And that is extremely important for us, that the Copernicus Marine Service not only evolves with the new requirements, but that it takes into consideration also what the DTO itself will need. It's a two-way process. So Copernicus Marine will evolve, feed in the DTO, and the DTO will evolve and tells its own requirements to the Copernicus Marine Service. So that's a little bit how I see it and how we see it with the colleagues, because we're working very closely together with the other DGs, and that's actually a wonderful thing. So that would say closes my contribution and maybe brings you one step further to your dinner.
Allez, one word of conclusion. Babis, do you want to start?
So being cautious that we are the last thing standing between you and dinner, I will be very quick. So I would say 3 words: ambition, strength, and collaboration. Ambition, because we are working for high priority goals. It's about not only the current benefits, but it's also about the future generations and how we will pave the way for them. We need to maintain the flag high. Then it's strength, because we are going to face challenges along the road and we need to be strong. And collaboration, because we are working all together, again, for the same goals. So we need to be under the same ambition, the same flag, working all together in order to manage to reach the end of the road.
Thank you. Zoe.
I have 3 words as well. The first is for community, because for the digital twin ocean to be successful, the marine community needs to come together. The second is consolidation of the work of this marine community and of the needs and desires of policy and society and the blue economy. And finally, engagement, open and transparency.
And I will conclude with a call, which is join us and contribute to the development of the EU digital twin of the ocean. And you have an excellent opportunity in 2 weeks from now on the 15th, and for some of you on the 14th of June, we will have the Digital Ocean Forum, which we organize in the European Commission with the support of Mercator and the Flanders Marine Institute. So join us and contribute to the development. Tell us what you need and how you can contribute to it.
And enjoy your dinner.
Just before, I think, 2 words from my side, and then I will leave Pierre to conclude. I have 2 messages in general. The first one, I've been working so long with Copernicus to the point that when I'm on holidays and with my family and we get lost somewhere, obviously it's my fault, it's always my fault. Actually, my wife stares to me in my eyes and she tells me, now Copernicus, where do we go? But despite the fact that I've been so long in that, I think I never get bored. And the reason is because I see people that are so motivated. I see really, in these meetings, people that are hands-on. I mean, sometimes, colleagues know what we're doing. Elisabetta knows that we are sometimes really in our offices, but it's really when we get out of there, when we can really have the possibility to be in contact with people like you, that we really see the value or the importance of what we are doing. So thank you very much to you for what you are doing for us. This was the first message. And second, being here in such a nice place with the dinner is really for me like the start of the week, because this week is 25 years of Copernicus and we'll be celebrating in Stockholm on Thursday, and I'm very happy to celebrate with the marine community this achievement, I'd say, this milestone in Copernicus. So thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I just think 1 minute about what has happened during this 1 hour and a half. I mean, we had with us and for us the European Union with the European Commission, the Parliament and Portugal. We have the United Nations with the UNESCO, and we had 4 DGs with us, plus DG DEFIS, and they took time for us. We know what it means to spend at this special time of the day to be with us. And these people are the real people. They are the ones that are working every day to make it happen. So I'm very, well, I just want to say sincerely thank you to all of you for coming and supporting us. And a special thank to Mauro, because he's really committed. He has a very busy week. He has to celebrate the anniversary of Copernicus. And just to say one example of this, when we were preparing this moment, I called Mauro. Can we talk? Yes, of course. And then we organized this. He was on holiday on the beach. But he took the phone and said, yes, of course, and why we should invite, etc. So just thank you to all of you, because I know that you're committed at the same level, and for all of the panelists this evening, and for your time. And well, thanks. Enjoy the week and all together, and the dinner now. Thank you.